The cost of hosting the World Cup of 2030 outweighs the potential benefits of Morocco. Dear jury, dear audience, respectful opposite house, good evening. Let me start off this debate by giving a definition of our topic, giving a definition about its keywords and also spotlights of it, so that we can give a clear view of our house direction and the direction that it targets is such as the financial slash infrastructural niches in which we can see that the cost of this year or perhaps 2030 World Cup outweighs the potential that we already have in Morocco. So first of all, if you permit me, if I have your permission, let me start this debate by defining what the World Cup is. Well, basically, you definitely know, right? The World Cup is a competition between the senior men's national teams of football that is directed by the International Federation Institution of Football, abbreviated FIFA, which is the main government body of sports. But this is not the main point. Let's focus on what we have, because we have more important crooks and needs to see on. Okay. So first of all, let me start with the infrastructural. When it comes to infrastructure, of course, for a team to be selected and voted as ready to host this event, this country must ensure at least 3.2 billion US dollars just as a recovery of the event. So, we already know that, unfortunately, Morocco is a country of the third world. And due to the corruption that we suffer from, where do you expect a country like us to come from all this money? And as I say, I heavily underline the word corruption. So basically, the money is going to be taken from the population's money, plus raising taxes that is going to be talked about in more details with the whip of the government house, and even worse, be stolen from the earthquake/natural catastrophes donation boxes, which is an inhuman crime. So, as we said, now we talked about the finance and all the costs that we have. So in just the short-term preparation phase that we have, it's already up to $22 billion. That's a huge amount of money. So this is an important cost that marks everything and comes on the spotlight.
Your arguments about the $3.2 billion is invalid because we are not hosting this World Cup alone. We're hosting it with 5 other countries, so you have to divide that number by 6, and then you can talk, but even when you will do the math, you will see that that point is invalid. As the greatest football player, Cristiano Ronaldo once said, "Talent without hard work is nothing." Since decades ago, Morocco has had a knack for organizing international events. Case in point, 1983, when Morocco hosted the Mediterranean Games. 1989, when Morocco hosted the Francophonie Games. 1993, when Morocco hosted the Pan-Arab Games. And 2030, when Morocco is hosting the 24th edition of the World Cup. As you can clearly tell, we worked our way to the top. We didn't have the talent to host such a huge event from the start. But we polished that bit of talent we had. We didn't make excuses about the cost of hosting and belittle ourselves because supposedly other countries' economy could handle it better. No, we didn't. And this is why we are hosting the 2030 World Cup. But before diving deeper into the topic, it falls upon my duty to introduce the members of the House of Opposition, starting with myself as the opposition leader, and following with the deputy leader, the member of opposition, and the opposition whip. We hereby encourage you to follow what we will be saying, as we promise to speak only the truth, and to prove that our position is the one valid based on evidence and not just empty rhetoric. Now, if you actually want to understand our motion properly, it is crucial to know and to weigh the importance of football in today's world. Football is not only a culturally significant sport, but it is also an economical boosting one that aids in job creation, uniting several communities, as it has been shown in recent years. I can think of Didier Drogba, who pretty much ended a war in his native country, the Ivory Coast, after helping their national team qualify for the 2006 World Cup. Which takes me into my next point. If you understand the huge importance and influence of football in our world, then you also have to understand the huge importance of the World Cup in football, and therefore on the economy of its hosts. Looking at the number of tickets sold would be the easiest way to grasp that, which was, according to FIFA itself, 3,182,406 tickets sold in the 2022 World Cup, which generated $686 million in revenue, which is already huge enough, but what if I told you that the number of tickets sold in the 2022 World Cup was 90% higher than that of the 2018 World Cup, which was 30% higher than that of the 2014 World Cup? See where I'm getting at? The number of tickets sold in the 2030 World Cup will be by far higher. And you know what also will be? The price of tickets. Did you know that from 2018 to 2022, the price of tickets increased by 46%? And that price itself is expected to increase by more than 50% by 2026. And we're not done with what will increase. Job opportunities, since hosting the World Cup comes with building, which comes with hiring more builders, more architects, and more engineers. And talking about building, a direct train line will be built between Spain and Morocco, which is more than beneficial for our transactions with Europe. And not just with Europe, since hosting the World Cup by itself brings tons and tons of investors, which is why your point, dear opponents, is invalid, since the cost of hosting the World Cup will be mainly covered by investors and therefore cannot hurt our economy. Thank you.
First of all, sport department is important all over the world, but in Morocco we've got other departments that need our attention. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable member of the juries and the respected opponent, let's just start with stimulating your imagination. Close your eyes and envision it. Morocco, the host of the FIFA World Cup in 2030. The anticipations are hard, where the world's attention fixated on our country, while the prospect of being at the center stage of global celebration is undeniably thrilling. Let us embark on a journey beyond the glittering facade and delve into the financial dimension. Hosting the World Cup is similar to organizing the grandest of parties, but it comes with an astronomical price tag. We're talking about constructing the state-of-the-art stadiums, renovating transportation networks, and fortifying security measures. However, the challenge lies in managing these funds carefully to avoid a financial hangover. Historical counts caution us that past hosts, in their hopes for economic windfalls, often found themselves struggling with more modest returns. Yet, the conversation extends beyond mere monetary consideration. The social cohesion is equally paramount. The extensive construction involved hosting at such an event may necessitate the relocation of all communities. Ladies and gentlemen, let's picture the scene. Neighborhood disrupted, people unhappy. Moreover, there is a pressing concern about the equitable financial gains. Will the windfall benefit the entire... Yes.
You said that people would be unhappy, but you have a statistic that showed that the Moroccan people are unhappy about Morocco being a part of the host of the World Cup.
But while we are organizing the World Cup, people will be disrupted with all the constructions.
Do you have a statistic?
No.
Our hospitals, roads, and buses might be pushed to their limits, and Mother Nature, she might be too thrilled about all the commotion either. Environmental repercussions come into play as the massive infrastructure development associated with the World Cup can contribute to habitat disorder and increased pollution. Security, a paramount consideration for any large-scale event, warrants our attention. Responsibility of hosting a global gathering involves ensuring the safety of all attendants, which necessitates a robust and oftentimes expensive security. Ladies and gentlemen, dear opponent, how can you explain that Morocco can guarantee the safety and security of both the participants and the spectators, since we already suffer from a lack of security in normal league matches? Let's approach this decision with a comprehensive understanding of the multifaceted challenges and opportunities. Morocco deserves not just a moment in the spotlight, but a legacy that uplifts its people for years to come. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable jury, dear opponents, what exciting news! Our glorious country, known for its baffling diversity, its rich culture, and its warm hospitality, will be in a matter of years hosting one of the major events worldwide that many countries aspire to host. For it is clear that football, as the British insist to call it, is quite the beloved sport, no matter who you are or where you are from. Dear audience, this news that brought so much happiness has also brought so many questions. Can we do it or not? Is Morocco really capable of managing such a big and important event? Isn't it too much for Morocco? Well, it isn't. In fact, hosting the 2030 World Cup will bring numerous benefits to Morocco, especially in the tourism sector. Since Morocco's Minister of Tourism, Fatem Zahra Amour, has welcomed news of Morocco's hosting the 2030 World Cup by stressing that the organization of this prestigious tournament could be a golden opportunity for Morocco to boost its tourism. She has also confirmed that hosting the 2030 World Cup is one of the great achievements that will contribute to the country's development. The Moroccan official has stated, and I quote, "We are ecstatic about this golden opportunity to take our destiny to new heights." She also stated that the Moroccan Tourism Ministry's vision of doubling the tourists' arrival by 2030 is well within reach. Moreover, hosting this event, it will be a game changer for tourism. Just take a moment and imagine the buzz and excitement as football fans from all corners of the globe descend upon Morocco.
A POI, please. If I have your permission. Please, the POI is, we know that the World Cup is exciting, but we have other things to focus on, because we in Morocco, we have several places that are very weak, that we need to considerate, and that we need to take more seriously than this event. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I will answer you later. In addition to that, hosting this tournament will have significant positive impact on the Moroccan airline Royal Air Maroc, because, as I said before, it will attract a large number of football fans from around the world to Morocco, leading to increased demands for flights. This means more revenue for the airline and potential expansion for their services. This will also benefit Royal Air Maroc by attracting more travelers to choose their airline for their trips to Morocco, and it will help enhance its international reputation. This is an important opportunity for the airline to showcase its excellent services, hospitality, and efficiency to a global audience, which can lead to long-term benefits such as increased brand recognition, customer loyalty, and potential partnership with the other airlines. The World Cup is not just a sporting event, but also a chance for Royal Air Maroc to shine on the world stage. Let's not forget that the influx of visitors would mean more bookings for hotels, more customers for local restaurants and shops, and more opportunities for people to experience the beauty and culture of Morocco. This would create a high demand for services such as accommodation, restaurants, transportation, and entertainment. And not only would the World Cup create jobs directly related to the event, but it would also have a ripple effect on on the economy. Local businesses would benefit from increased sales, and there would be opportunities for entrepreneurs to start new ventures catering to the needs of visitors. This could include souvenir shops, tour operators, and event organizers. Overall, this event is like a global celebration that will showcase Morocco's beautiful landscapes, rich culture, and historical sites to a global audience. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, respected judges and opponent house. As you implicitly said earlier, Morocco will get an economic boost and it will be at its peak, but actually no, because it will last just for 1 month and it won't be durable, as I said. And it will be temporary, and we have to know that other countries that participated pastly suffered a lot from it. And you know that Morocco don't actually need those extra hosts of mondial activity to be recognized and known by its value. We can just encourage those small Moroccan brains to grow and achieve those inter-impact effects, idea. And I'm getting to another point. You know that the host of the mondial activity will be in summertime, which naturally means dryness, drought, dog days. One would play in those conditions, like the team's performance wouldn't be accurate, as I said earlier. And there's no point of hosting in a place where the result wouldn't be accurate. And Morocco, in order to promise a good experience for the tourist, yes, please, accept.
You keep saying that we shouldn't host the World Cup, but what other opportunities or investments could be prioritized instead of hosting the World Cup?
Well, we have educational department that need our special attention. We have to know that Morocco is facing some problem with education and also local services and basic life necessity. That's why we don't have to get our attention on the sport department, but on other department, because it's logical. It's crazy to doubt about it, because it's obvious, And I'm going to other cases, and here we go again. We won't get anything but just a moment of the spotlight of media, And I don't think that 7 years of work worth only a moment and only a month of recognizing. We have to know that we will gain less than we will have spent, 7 years of work. 7 years of work doesn't work only a month. It's logical, it's obvious, And in this house we will invest a lot of money and an amount of money, and to end up gaining less than we will have spent. It's logical. And according to the study, the average cost of World Cup has been on the rise, because it's over $50 billion. And are we really ready to invest all this money on just the sport department? I don't think so. So what about education? What about healthcare? It's crazy. The World Cup is a burden on productivity. And 10 years from now, we will wish we had started now and focusing on our real needs. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear audience, today I'm standing here not just as a student or a classmate of some of you, but also as a Moroccan citizen who looks for the best of his country by making good choices and smart decisions. So as we know, hosting the World Cup doesn't mean just building a stadium where players would play and people would watch, but it also means improvement, development of the infrastructure of the country, which is an amazing opportunity for our country to fix what needs to be fixed and help those who need it. Starting with the transportation infrastructure, including roads, highways, public transit systems. I mean, let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, Our transportation infrastructure isn't the best, although we're ranked 16th worldwide, which could seem like a huge deal, but it still needs some work. Our roads need to be renovated, ladies and gentlemen, and the perfect opportunity is the World Cup, because governments will invest in upgrading or constructing new transportation routes to accommodate the inflow of tourists and attendances, which would, by the way, benefit the country long after the tournament ends. Answering the question of the Prime Minister, you said that we won't have the priority to make this plan even possible, but you gotta know we have 7 years to solve this problem.
Please. I want to say, if it really had benefit, why the country that participated pastly didn't want this time?
I'm sorry?
I said, if it really had benefit, why the country that participated pastly didn't want to this time?
I mean, Dubai had very big expenses. Like, it's already an important country. Like, it's not like the past countries like Brazil and even more. So, answering your question, we have 7 years to solve this problem. Like, and plus, this is the answer of our solution. It's the hosting of the World Cup. So, moving on to the urban development, which involves enhancing public spaces, remodeling tourist attractions, and improving city aesthetics, contributing to a more attractive and functional urban environment. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that development should balance between modern aesthetics with the preservation of cultural heritage, and by recovering historical areas and preserving landmarks and promoting local arts and traditions, we contribute to our city's identity, which leads us to my next point, cultural and heritage preservation. There is a very important benefit from this event, because as part of the preparation of this World Cup, there might be initiative to preserve and showcase Morocco's cultural heritage by preserving cultural areas, museums, and cultural centers, contributing by that to the preservation and promotion of our country's rich heritage and sharing our history and culture with the other foreign fans and tourists. Accommodation and hospitality, an essential condition for the hosting of the World Cup, in which FIFA requires 72 base camp hotels for teams and referees, as well as 4 hotels per stadium location. For spectators, they use from 1,700 to 8,000 hotel rooms in each host city. So, Morocco might invest in expanding its hospitality sector by constructing new hotels or upgrading existing ones, which would enhance the country's ability to host large-scale events and support the ongoing tourism industry. And finally, to my last point, which has been detailed by both of my colleagues, economic stimulus. The World Cup generates substantial revenue from tourism, investment, and increased economic activity. The funds generated could be reinvested into various infrastructure projects, hosting long-term development and growth in different sectors of the economy. Thank you.
Dear opponents, dear jury, dear jury, I feel honored to be standing here in front of you all right now. But let me tell you something. Based on everything I've just heard right now, I can already tell that you're being way too narrow-minded. I can see that you're excited for the World Cup being played here, our beautiful country, Morocco. But you are talking way too subjectively. You are not considering the negative impacts of hosting such an international event and the fact that they outweigh any potential benefits. And you said it yourself, dear member of the opposition, that there will be big expenses. And there's a difference between the economy of Qatar, 2022 host, and the economy of Morocco. Let's look, I know that it's nice to blabber on about the potential benefits, but let's look at a real example. In 2014, as you all know, Brazil hosted the World Cup. And if we base it on your argument, they should have had such a huge economical benefit. But let me tell you something. It's the absolute contrary. It's the absolute contrary.
Why?
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sorry, but how can statistics be subjective, and also your arguments of Qatar and Brazil are not valid because we are hosting it with 5 other countries. Brazil and Qatar hosted it alone.
Thank you very much for your POI. So yeah, let's talk about that. The cost of the World Cup has been increasing, if you actually heard what our dear member of the government said. So it's not going to be the same cost. The Brazil already had a lot of problems because of hosting the World Cup, and they only needed to pay about $15 billion. Well, Qatar paid $220 billion. Do you seriously believe that we have the capacity of putting such a huge sum into sports? I don't think so. So back to my argument. I said that thanks to globalexchange.es, a website that tells information about currencies, the value of the Brazilian currency has been divided by 2 after hosting the World Cup. Why? Because they had to take so much bank loans just so they could end up finishing stadiums. But let's look at something. Brazil's GDP in 2011 was at around $2,600 billion. Morocco's GDP in 2022 is only at around $417 billion. We're gonna need more money, but we can't just take loans from the bank. That's gonna be way too negative for us. They're also going to need to take money from the people who live here. We're gonna be suffering. Taxes, inflation, things we already notice in our daily life. They're going to get even worse. And are we really ready for that? Are we ready to sacrifice an entire generation just so we could host a sport event and look good in front of foreigners? I don't think so. And also in the ecological point of view, we kept working for our carbon print to get smaller and smaller, and right now we're only going to make it bigger. There's going to be a huge influx of flights. There's going to be so many people coming from different countries, America, Spain, and they're all going to need a flight back home. Do you know how much CO2 that will emit? Do you know how much CO2 that will emit? And so let's move on. Are you really ready to invest into sports? Do you not know that this is only going to make us go up for a small while? Meanwhile, investing in other sectors like education will make the entire country go up forever. And we already see the problems in our educational system, in our daily life. I am sure you are seeing the protests currently happening. And why is that? Because the budget is too small. Let's look at healthcare. Morocco only gives 6.9 billion, and they're going to need at least twice more just so they could cover this World Cup and the future costs that they will need so they could rebuild after hosting an international event. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, honorable jury, and dear opponents. Welcome and thank you for your presence today. I must start off by giving you a quote that I can only hope you understand its relevancy with today's motion. Strength does not come from winning. Your struggles develop your strengths. When you go through hardships and decide not to surrender, that is strength. Well said by Arnold Schwarzenegger. My teammates and I strongly stand by our position that the potential benefits for hosting the World Cup outweighs the cost of hosting it. As my teammates have already provided enough arguments to defend our stance, I will give you just one more to close our case. Seeing as neither yours nor our positions can telltale Morocco's economy in 2030, I think it's a safe bet to only hope for the best. But I really do believe that Morocco took into consideration the potential unqualified economy to host a whole World Cup alone. But that is why we are co-hosting alongside 5 other countries. Go ahead.
So we already see in normal league matches that the security cannot be assured by security forces. So do you really think that our security forces can ensure the safety of travelers who came here to watch the World Cup?
I get your question. Don't you know that a part of organizing the World Cup, you need to ensure security? So I'm very sure that the countries are going to invest in more security and more police to avoid any accidents happening. As I was saying, the cost of hosting the 2030 World Cup will be divided between 3 main countries, Morocco, Spain, and Portugal, and additionally 3 other countries, Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay, due to their minor participation. My point is, the cost of hosting is divided, but while the benefits of hosting are very much still intact for each country. I believe that Morocco was very strategic when choosing this specific World Cup to organize, because Morocco recognizes an opportunity when it arises. Morocco is not just going to throw out a big opportunity just because, according to you, our economy won't be good enough. Morocco will fight. Morocco will fight hard, just like it fought hard to gain its position in organizing the 2030 World Cup, to develop our economy beyond this event. Morocco is going to take advantage of this opportunity because Moroccans like us can already see the benefits we will acquire. As a football fan, it was a pleasure watching the 2022 World Cup and seeing Messi lift the cup. But as a Moroccan football fan, it was ecstatic to witness what our national team achieved 1 year ago. I don't think I have to remind anyone in this room of the pure joy and smiles we all had from watching our team winning. I get goosebumps just mentioning it. Our national team achieved so much from just participating in the event. Imagine hosting it. Imagine 1.5 billion people watching an event that your own country organized. Imagine 1.2 million people coming to your country to attend the match, or rather multiple ones. I say that hosting the 2030 World Cup will benefit Morocco in numerous ways. It will improve our economy. It will give Morocco more recognition. It will better our infrastructure. And most importantly, it will give us Moroccans some memories we will never forget. So I urge you to stop being pessimistic, and instead of finding reasons not to host, I suggest you look for ways to improve our economy so it could be good enough for you. That would be a better time spent. Ladies and gentlemen, I started it off with a quote, I will end it off with another quote. In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. Thank you.
Dear audience, welcome again. So in this term that I'm passing on, I'm going to give an opposite argument for each of our respectful opponent or opposite house propositions. Okay, so the first one, I guess the deputy leader of the opposition said that we will have no chance to enhance our economy. Well, yeah, that's from a superficial basis, okay? But when we take a look at the economy that we already have in Morocco. So first of all, let's see the employments in hotels and hospitals. Okay, so forget about the free food and all that stuff. Just in summer, thousands of foreign tourists come every year to Morocco, and in a short term of time, there is no more space. All the hospitals are booked, hospitals are completely full, you have no way to add more people or to accept more people. So now we're talking about a World Cup. It's not hundreds, not thousands, not even billions.
I think you're the ones who are not hearing us, because we said that the cost of hosting the World Cup will be mainly handled by investors. So before talking to us about the big expenses that my classmates mentioned, it will be covered by South Korea. So before talking about the healthcare problems, the education problems, do your research and know who is paying and who is not. Also, dear member of the government, you said that $686 million will last us for only a month. I'm sorry to say, but you have terrible management and counting skill, while you, government whip, have terrible understanding skills. Because how will the climate consequences from flying back and forth impact our economy as Moroccans? Now I'm sure you realize that the POI, please. There's no POI in the second intervention. Now I'm sure you realize that the World Cup, being the biggest sports event worldwide, translates to the biggest sports event worldwide and the biggest audience, which needs a strong sector system in telecommunication, which saves us as Moroccans billions and millions of dollars that we need to invest in that sector. So does the cost really outweigh the benefits? Unless you're using a broken balance, it's not.
Some of us surely think that hosting a World Cup can create temporary jobs opportunities. These may not necessarily translate into long job employment. Once the event concludes, there is a risk of job loss and for those who were employed in temporary roles. Actually, there is also the numbers of international visitors, and the commercialization of the event can potentially disrupt local cultural practice and social dynamics. There may be concerns about the commodification of culture and the impact on traditional values. Otherwise, in case organizational issues, protests, and other controversies mark the World Cup, do you really think that Do you really think, dear opponent, that one mistake won't impact negatively our beloved country? I don't think so. One mistake, only one mistake, dear public, can lead to a negative perception.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are slowly reaching the end of this wonderful debate, and I hope that it has become clear to you the benefits that our glorious country will gain by hosting this prestigious event. I insist that this is a golden opportunity that shouldn't be taken for granted. We need to make sure to enjoy it while it lasts and put the long-lasting benefits to good use. Plus, we already have experience in hosting international football events. Just look at the way we organized in the club's World Cup last year. And before I leave the stage, I must insist upon one last thing. Dear audience, let it be known that a difficult time can be more readily endured if we retain the conviction that our existence holds a purpose, whether it is a goal to pursue, a person to love, or in our case, a goal to achieve. Thank you.
Well, I hope you know that to host the World Cup, a criteria is needed, and one of these is to be a developed country. And we know that an education is an important pillar to be a developed country, and being negligent towards it can cause big drawback on our country. That's what I'm saying. We have to care about the educational department more than the sport department. That's why, because we have some problem that has to be fixed. Because we can't host it if we're not a developed country. And to be a developed country, we have to care about education, and we have to care about it. That's what I'm saying. And it's simply a crazy idea to care more about the image, the superficial image, when we have more problems when it comes to basic life necessity. When local services such as schooling and such as health care, like it's oh.
The World Cup is a special event that unites multiple countries, along with their traditions and cultures, which is very beneficial to both of the hosting country and the tourists. And when I talk about the benefits, I do not talk, ladies and gentlemen, certainly about money, because the benefits could be long-term, like the example of the infrastructure. Like the example of the transportation infrastructure. It may be cultural, like the sharing of culture with other foreign fans. Remember, people, that it's not always about money, because everything that can be bought with money wouldn't last. My clothes are bought with money, but one day they would snap. This microphone can be bought with money, but one day it will stop working. So we got to see the benefits from another perspective, a perspective that would help the hosting country and would amuse the tourists. And if you don't think that our country is capable enough to host this event, so I don't really see that you are worthy to see this happen. Thank you.
So, dear leaders of the opposition. You said that we're not doing our researches, but let me tell you something. You are not doing our researches. Every single money statistical breakup needs to be given by the government, not investors. And also, let us continue. You also said that our ecology does not have any impact. But let me tell you, we need agriculture for our economy. And that's one of our main pillars. And so we need ecology. So, dear spectators, you are the future generations. This is your country, your choice. I say it again and again. This is your country, your choice. You're either going to sacrifice everything for a short-lived sport event, or you're going to stand up against this suffering just for us and for the better of our future. Thank you very much.
Shouting doesn't lead to anything, so please keep it down. And to answer all of your previous answers, who told you that the countries that already hosted the World Cup don't want to host it again? Don't you know that the South American countries want to host it again in 2023, as I said? But since that's not really fair to the other countries that didn't host it, they're only organizing their first matches. Plus, I don't really think FIFA is going to give the opportunity to any country to host it if they didn't think they were apt for it. And just because we have problems doesn't mean that we shouldn't invest in other things. We shouldn't cower from opportunities. Let's show the world that an African Arab Muslim country is very much capable of hosting a World Cup. Thank you.